Hello, everyone. It's live at 5 Mondays on Facebook with Cheryl Millett. What an interesting time we're having. I was just thinking this past week, I know I talked about the omega drug, the omega-3 drug. And the omega-3 drug is, well, what is it? It's derived from fish oils. So we have this omega-3 drug from fish oils, and we have to start to think about that all through the website. And I know from Harvard and from others in research and so forth that fish oils are not as effective as they thought they would be. But yet, here's a pharmaceutical company taking something from the fish oil and claiming that it's going to work. Now, mind you, they did comment that there was some diet changes, which changes up everything. So I wonder what's going on here. I mean, I doubt that something, a part of something, if that something doesn't work, how is a part of that actually going to work? Anyway, that was my question to myself this week, thinking, how can that be right? I know they're making, 300% and the stock goes up and they're making a lot of money. And we can absolutely understand that that might be the motive here. That might be actually a big motive here, because the fish oils right now are in abundance. If we think about all the fish farms, and they have all these fish farms, they have an excess of fish oils out there, an excess of it. So if you can make a drug from it, and I don't know how they do it, they don't tell you that, it's patented, but if they can make a drug from it and make a lot of money, they always make more money from the drugs. Always, they're ridiculously priced, and this is kind of what I hear. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today is our own body's intelligence. So our body, if we can tune into it, is very intelligent, so intelligent that not even the doctors, research, science can say what it actually does or control what it does. And partially I can kind of talk to that is some part of it's in my book anyway, but there is this other book here that I just pulled out, and I was reviewing some information. And does everybody here remember the talk about the Genome Project? You know, great science. They're going to unravel a number of genes, protein coding genes, and they're going to be able to discover where different conditions or disease, and be able to do miracles, perhaps. Well, that Genome Project started, but when I ask people if they remember or know where this Genome Project is at today, most of them will say they don't know, they haven't heard. But it's finished. It was finished actually ahead of schedule and under budget, and well over, I think, 10 years ago. And with that, the findings. So the findings weren't that spectacular. So no crazy thing kind of came about from it. There's just some numbers here, so I just kind of want to refer to the numbers. When they mapped the human, they thought initially that there was going to be like 100,000 genes, if I'm saying it correctly, or protein genes specific there. But what ended up happening is the human was only 25,000. So not 100,000, but 25,000. So how does that compare to some of the other organisms that we have on this planet? Well, just to give you an idea, the fruit fly is 13,000. The worm is, I believe, 18,000. And the plant is 26,000. What does that tell us? Well, it isn't like they thought it was. We're not as complicated, or there's something else that comes into play here that they can't find or see or understand with what knowledge we have or what limited eyes or machines that we actually have. So is that good news? Well, it is kind of good news, because I wouldn't want somebody to think that we can, we can just play with our genes and actually be fixed, when the root cause comes down to enervating things, be it stress, too much food, too much exercise, too much watching TV, lots of too muches, or maybe not enough exercise, not enough of the right food, those kind of things. But the thing that I wanted to get to, besides intelligence, or actually talking to intelligence, was actually the mere fact that we do have our body communicating with us in the way of symptoms. And these symptoms come in many different ways. Yes, pain, we have pain. Hello, everyone. We have the pain. We have differences that happen in our body. Rashes, for instance, sores, yes, diarrhea, different things going on in the digestive system, which, by the way, just is dysfunctioning. And from Ayurvedic and Chinese, saying there's always a dysfunctioning digestive system, which is where our food goes in, right? Where our food goes in. So that may give us a clue that if we're feeding our body highly processed foods, unnatural foods, maybe modified foods, any that way that doesn't serve our health, then our digestive system is going to be, how can I say it? It's going to be involved in dealing with it. And if our body doesn't want to take it in, it actually creates mucus. Or if our body doesn't want to take it in, you may vomit. And if our body doesn't want to take it in, you may have diarrhea. These are all symptoms of the digestive system, foodborne illness and so forth, that way. But symptoms. So what do they mean? That's the biggest thing. What do they mean? Quite often we can get some indication from our doctors, or some indication if we look it up. But with symptoms, for instance, a headache. If we look at a headache as a symptom, what's the cause of the headache? This is where maybe there's some guidance, maybe there's intuitively you know what it is, but we have to really look at, well, what's the cause of that headache? And it will be different for different people. Some it's hormonal. Yeah, that's a little bit more in depth that way. And then why is it happening that the hormones are out of whack? So we can take it a little bit deeper. But do explore the symptoms. The symptoms are there to communicate something to us. They are a form of intelligence. The body is communicating with us, and we should pay attention. So that's the next part, is to pay attention. Is really to be aware and start to, at any age, at any time, just increase the awareness on the body, and don't get too hung up on, wow, this is crazy bad, and it's this and it's that. Well, maybe it's that, maybe it's not, but you should have some relief from the symptoms if you're doing the right things, or you understand what the root cause is. That would be that. But here's a little story. When we think about awareness, when we mention that word awareness, or we mention the word intuition, here's a story of this when I was in Ireland in June. And quite often, more and more, and then when I'm meeting with clients, it's about making the mind, not making the mind, but having my mind be quiet and still and clear. And I'm doing that more in the moment. I'm doing it more even when I'm traveling, when I'm listening to people. And there was this bar that was in Kilkenny, not too far from Dublin, and it was called A Hole in the Wall. So that's an interesting story in itself, where a hole in the wall was a hole in the back courtyard, more like a doorway, but where men could sneak in. So that probably gives it away right there. So men would sneak in from the back door, a hole in the wall, and they would come into this establishment or bar. Now, 500 years later, because that's how old this bar is, they call it a hole in the wall. And I went into the bar, and it was just small. It was a very old building. And I saw this tall stone. Now, not too tall, not quite as tall as I am. It wasn't 5 feet, although I'm taller than 5 feet, but wasn't very tall like the standing stones that we're thinking about in Stonehenge. But there, in Ireland, there are these stones that you see in the middle of fields and places, just one stone, and they call them standing stones. So I noticed this standing stone or stone in the bar, and I asked the lady, I said, "Is that a standing stone?" And she says, "Yes, it is." And I thought, that's odd to have one of these things actually in a building or inside. So I put my hand on it because it was right there, and I got a message. And the message was, I want to be outside. I should be placed back outside. I can't remember what popped in, but it's like a thought. It's like a thought. It's not a voice. It's like a thought, and it kind of pops in. And the next day when I went back, I said, this is my only opportunity. I'm in the bar. I'm not coming back here. Who knows when? It's top of mind. I want to say something. But there was a whole group of people there, not a big, large group, but 8 younger girls from America. Well, I'm going to say it anyway because I'm going to be leaving. So I mentioned to the bartender that I had touched the stone last night, and I got a message, and I just want to share this message with you if it means anything. And I said to her, the stone said, I want to be put back outside. And she looked at me with these big eyes, and she said, oh, isn't that interesting? We brought this stone in not too long ago, maybe a few months ago, for an event. And the owner, who's a heart specialist, but the doctor, and he renovated this place, and he actually heard words. He actually heard words or was spoken to renovate and buy this place. That's why I thought, oh, okay, it's okay to kind of bring it up. But this lady, I said that, and she says, why? And he was meant to put it outside right after the event, but I think he's forgotten about it. So I will mention him. I don't know how often he spends time there, but I will mention it to him. So thank you. So when it comes to all of us, part of listening or in bringing on the intuition and having more clarity about things is actually to quiet the mind. And that's just is kind of in line with being present, being in the now, something like that. But that's kind of wanted to bring up today. It's kind of one of those topics. Do you talk about it? Don't you talk about it? Some people might be nervous about talking about it. Okay, let's just talk about it in certain circles. But really, our intuition is probably something that more and more people are familiar with from a gut feeling. But really, you can have certain messages kind of like pop in, and they're thoughts. And it seems like it's coming from you, but it is probably. And you're just kind of picking up on things and the energy. And that's really all it is. That's what I wanted to speak to this week, which is just, the symptoms, the intuition, and omega-3 drug. What's that about? I'm going to wish everybody a good night. I don't know if there's any question. Hello, Annette. Hello, June. I just want to thank everybody for coming on. I mean, really, the whole premise for doing this is just to be able to share various things that pop in, whether it's from the week or from the writing or whatever it's from, my own health journey. And especially when I can understand and feel that it kind of relates to other people as well, right? So I can, so I will, so I am, and here we go. So every Monday, live at 5 on Facebook with me, or Avec Moi. And I'm going to wish everybody a good night. I hope to see you next week. And if for some reason some of this information is valuable to other people then feel free to share wholeheartedly, and keep notes on the puns. All I'll say is on the puns is that they're just meant to be fun, to bring some fun into a moment, and to others. It probably makes us feel good. And that's really it, just trying to bring in some fun and encourage everybody to have some fun and some laughter all the time, because it's, It's good for our health. That's what I will say. So I'm going to say goodnight, everyone. Again, thank you for coming on. Any questions, any comments, feedback, all welcome. I will make some announcements recently, soon, coming up, just to let you know about some workshops and stuff like that. But they're kind of taking some of this information to a different level. So take care, everyone. Good night. Best of health. And I will see you on next Monday. Take care. Bye for now.